Hi drawing students, so today we are going to draw a wine glass out of a cylinder. So if you look at a wine glass carefully, it's perfectly round at the top, it's perfectly round at the bottom, but when you view it at a natural view, like when it's sitting in front of you, it has a flattened shape on the top, and that top is called an ellipse. Now this was part of your review for the first two drawing practices this week, so we're going to start taking it up a notch with this. So I'm going to begin with the same steps as before. I'm going to create a horizontal axis line, a level, and then a vertical axis line. And I'm making my vertical line as straight as I can, and I'm trying to use the edge of my sketchbook right here to make sure it's light and as straight as I can get it. I'm going to start with the opening at the very top. And I'm going to observe like how wide it is from my view, and it's going to depend, the width of this opening of the ellipse at the top is going to depend on how it's tipping or how close it is or far away it is from me. So I'm going to set the viewpoint up so I can see it. I'm going to mark an equal distance on either side of this center plumb line. And I can take my pencil tip and mark it on the end and my finger in the middle and bring it over. Check and see if that's the same. It's pretty close. This angle is a little hard. And then I am going to draw these little parentheses on the corners for the opening of my elliptical shape. And now I typically will screw things up here, so sometimes I rotate my sketchbook sideways. And I can even take my fingers and check the width of things. It also sometimes helps for me to look at it upside down to see. I think this side is bigger, so I'm either going to stretch this side out or bring the other side in. I think I will stretch this out. So looking at this width, moving it over here, yeah, that needs to be a little wider. So these two halves have to be equal, so I'm going to make that as equal as I can get it. And then the width from here to here is going to be set by the point I mark below and above. And again, I rotate my sketchbook to help me look and see if it's equal. And if it's equal, I just finish it off. I have to touch those points. And again, I'll probably turn it a few more times to see if it works. Okay, so I think I'm pretty close, and we're going to go with it from here. So the first step from here is I'm just going to draw the straight cylinder. And I want to make sure that I'm an equal distance, here to here, all the way down, here to here, all the way down. And there's a number of things that can go wrong if your plumb line is not straight. That causes a problem. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to decide where the base is going to be. And the base is round, right? And from a natural viewpoint, when something is sitting in front of you, it'll look flattened or foreshortened. Now the curve here and the curve here are going to match. This curve and this curve should always match. So I am going to look at this distance, and I'm going to mark that same distance here and round it into these corners. So now I've got a cylinder. Oops. The bottom of that does not look correct, so I'm going to try and round it out a little bit more. Okay. Now some simple observations about this glass. This opening at the top is more narrow than the belly of the glass here, so that means I have to make this part wider, and then it becomes very thin and drops down. Now if I look at it and I'm trying to identify where does it break in half, I would say that the halfway point is about here, the thicker part of the stem. So looking at my highest point to my lowest point, I'm going to draw a line here. And I'm going to say this is my middle, and this is going to be where it gets a little skinnier. Now, how do I know where this goes? I'm eyeballing it and just taking a guess. This may not be perfect, but I know I can adjust it. So this is the area where I'm going to draw that middle line, and I'm going to make a little slanted mark on each side, and I want them to be the same width. And then it gets wider. So a little ways up from here, it gets a fatter belly. And I'm going to draw a line where I think that belly should get wider, and then an equal distance on both sides from the outside vertical line. I'm going to mark that. So now I can connect these points. I'm going to go straight down here, and then straight in here. Now that is a little dramatic. It doesn't look like this. I can round this out. To make it look a little more natural after I have those points in place. Now from here it gets thinner, so I'm going to decide where I want it to get thinner. I'm going to add another level line so it's getting thinner the same rate on both sides, and I'll add in here, and from there it goes down, it gets thinner further, and I'm going to make this just go parallel next to that center line. And I'm going to stop because I know it should be getting wider. At the base it does appear that it gets wider here, so I have to decide where all that's going to happen. Actually, I think I'll just bring this straight down to the center level line, and first I'll finish drawing the elliptical shape that is the foot of the glass. So I'll make the foot of the wine glass here, and then this distance, however far I go down here, I'm going to go the same distance back here. And I'll round that out, and then from here I can make it wider. I can decide, okay, this is where I want it to settle in, and I want this little triangle and this little triangle to be the same on both sides, and I can make this a little round curve right here, and I can also play with the width of this by dropping lines straight down here and drawing a second elliptical shape on the bottom. Now this is not an exact match to the wine glass in my hand, but it's a good start, and I can definitely start modifying it from here. Right now I know the structure is symmetrical, and then I can start modifying it. So this is how you turn a straight cylinder into something else. You extend width by using level lines, and you shrink width by making the level lines again and just marking equal distances on both sides.